Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents. With me, your host, Valerie, and sometime co-host Miss Purrington, or Mookie, has joined us. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. You can keep up with us on Twitter and Instagram at Comedy Wham or on our Comedy Wham Facebook page. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our advice column, Rochelle Takes on Comedy, and we've also got a festivals page. And of course, we're best known for our events page for live shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW. If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the short survey. Tag us on your Instagram stories and posts, and we'll share your show promo. Looking for ways to support all these resources we provide? You can donate to Comedy Wham on PayPal, Venmo, or even Patreon. Search for Comedy Wham on Patreon and check out our subscriber perks. Now let's get back to our podcast. Launched in 2016, the Podcast Project brings you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us. Today, I was introduced to this comic on our isolation comedy online shows during 2020. That was ages ago, where she became a frequent and one of my favorite performers. She is the producer of the fantastic Shtick Battle show, and I love running into her at the Cap City Comedy Club, which you might too if you go to any shows there. And if you aren't following her on Instagram, you are missing out. She's always got some fun posts out there. And now Comedy Wham presents our guest, Katie Felton.
Woohoo! Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hello, podcast world.
Hello. Oh God, that was way too much Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's my favorite.
It is a very good show. Movie. Oh my gosh. Katie, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
You are. So this episode, we're recording in November, but I told you that this is my birthday weekend release episode.
Yes.
And when it's my birthday release episode, I always want to make sure that I have tons of fun.
Yes.
And I knew that you could deliver.
Oh, thank you so much. Now the pressure's on.
So I'm sad that I've not yet to see Shtick Battle in person, but I just think that's such a fun show concept.
Yeah.
And
it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I wanted something where it wasn't only stand-up and people could showcase other parts of their personality and talent, and mostly myself, if we're being honest. I love a good costume moment, so I was like, how can I do costumes twice a month? And lip syncing it was. So it's been a fun, creative thing. And it's also been fun to watch people really freeze and not know what to do. I'm like, yeah, you got to prepare. I told you guys. But, it's been fun. I enjoy it a lot. Yeah. So, yeah, you'll have to come
we'll
out.
dig in a little bit later as we kind of go through your evolution from performer to producer. I do have an official icebreaker question.
Okay. Let's hear it.
It's one word to describe your past.
Oh, innocence?
Aww.
Naive?
Really? I don't know if anybody has used that before. Tell me more.
Yeah, so I'm an only child, and my parents are older boomers, so I think just very sheltered. And I also grew up middle class, so I don't know. I mean, there's definitely troubles within all areas of life, but Southern California, just bebopping around, and had a very nice group of friends that were not big partiers and all that kind of stuff. So
it's quaint.
yeah.
So you grew up in Southern California?
I did.
Where?
Yes. Orange County, California.
see.
Mission Viejo, home of Mark Sanchez, the butt fumbler.
What?
He was this quarterback that tried to catch a ball and like caught it on his butt and fumbled it. That's what he's best known for these days.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. He's very handsome gentleman, but I'm like, hey, I guess being known for your butt isn't the worst thing in the world.
Nah. There's OnlyFans for that.
Exactly.
So growing up in Southern California, just a mere stone's throw from the big Los Angeles mecca of comedy, when you were growing up, was comedy something that played a role in your life?
Yes, but more on like a local type of way. So my dad and mom lived in LA, and my dad would go to the Comedy Store a lot in the 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like Robin Williams he would tell me about a lot, and like Jim Carrey before Jim Carrey was who we know him today, and all these types of characters. So I would always get secondhand stories from him about comedy. And then the Irvine Improv is like very close to where I grew up, so we would go there once I got old enough to catch shows and stuff like that. But it was more of my dad is just like a goofy, gregarious type of guy who he's always been into comedy, so kind of got me into comedy. But of course I was too nervous and scared to really give it a try or be too crazy when growing up. So always had dreams of trying it, but never really thought I would kind of do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your story about you going to shows with your dad like hits me because I remember the first show that I took my son to, and obviously, he's exposed to comedy because of all the comedy stuff that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh man, is he ever going to become a stand-up? And they're like, oh man. How about you stick with your initial degree plan, and then that can be a hobby.
Exactly.
Because it's such hard knocks.
It really is. But I feel like it's one of the best bonding things. Like, if you have the same sense of humor, it bonds you so much.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first show was that your dad took you to?
Oh, I'm trying to think. So I went to a performing arts school in 8th grade for 1 year, and they had like a comedy showcase so like you could be underage and go, and I think that might have been my first like comedy club experience. Definitely listened to comedy albums in the car and stuff, but yeah, that was funny because they booked people, and comedians don't really read the fine print, so one of the comedians showed up and was like, there's children in the audience. I didn't know that. But it was fun. And then another one I vividly remember, I think I must have just turned 18, is going to see Angela Johnson. And that was with friends, but yeah, that sticks out a lot too.
Yeah, she comes through here every once in a while.
Yeah, I love her. She's still a favorite of mine.
Huh, that's so cool. So when you graduated high school, what did you do?
I was like, I need to get out of Orange County. We call it the Orange Bubble. So I went to college in Flagstaff, Arizona at Northern Arizona University. Go Lumberjacks. I knew going into college I wanted to get my degree in advertising, and I thought that would kind of be my comedy avenue. Like, think of fun, creative ad slogans and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I did that, and then moved home for a year once I graduated college, and was like, okay, I need to, again, get out of this bubble. And so I had applied for Peace Corps, but was just kind of waiting to hear from that. And while that was happening, my cousin had a friend who had an apartment that was opening up in New York, and she knew that New York was something that interested me. So it was like, do you want to move in with my friend? And I was like, heck yes, I do. So then it just kind of fell into place where I was like, okay, now's my time. I'm moving to New York. So yeah, and then I lived in New York for 2 years. Did that whole grind. I think I was too depressed and poor to really think about comedy at the time in New York, even though that's like also a comedy mecca. And then was like, okay, I need something where people are a little bit nicer and I can have money to live my life. So Austin, I had some friends that lived here and they were like, it's a small city, but it's, at least a city.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'm down. So then I moved to Austin and haven't looked back since.
Okay. All right. There's a lot of little spots I'm going to ask questions about.
Yeah.
All right. So when you went back home and you were starting to get sick of living in your OC bubble.
Yes.
But you have LA there, which is like, I think, one of the meccas of advertising. Were you working in advertising while you were waiting for the Peace Corps thing?
Yeah. Well, I was working in marketing.
Okay.
And I moved to New York with the intent to get into advertising.
Okay.
It definitely is like a who you know type of business, which I kind of anticipated, but again, my naivete was like, I'll prove myself type of thing. And it didn't work out, but in retrospect, I think it worked out the best because the long hours and just like being on call all the time. My roommate worked for a PR agency, so not exactly the same, but just agency life. I saw all she went through and I was like, yeah, maybe this wasn't for me necessarily, but still have a deep love for advertising. And I think like if I could do life over again, I would maybe try a little harder for it, but it all worked out for the best.
Well, so you're digging yourself for maybe trying harder if you could redo that part of your life. But I mean, you can slap me if I'm wrong, but I have perceived your personality as like a very soft personality.
Yeah.
Like you're not I'm going to just crawl over and stomp on everybody else just to get my, you know, my thing. So going into advertising where I watched Blackish. So I got, a real true glimpse into the advertising world, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you've watched, that's all how it really is,
yes,
right?
Exactly. It's like a reality show over there.
Yeah. But more importantly, I see how cutthroat New York is.
Yes.
And if you're just kind of that soft, you're in this new environment, you're struggling to pay bills.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. And if you're depressed on top of all that. Were you homesick or?
I was, I would say probably culture sick. Like I came into New York. I love the hustle and bustle of New York. I had visited once before, which I don't think is probably enough to be like, I'm just going to move there. Yeah. Obviously, I had like a wonderful vacation that my aunt paid for everything. So I was like, New York is great.
It's awesome.
But I didn't expect my expectations going to New York was it's a transplant city. So everybody will understand where I'm coming from as far as I moved here to pursue a dream. You hear that a lot. It's like there will be young people. My roommate is the same age as me. When I got there, it was a lot of people from the East Coast that already had friends from high school and college, and they were kind of like, these are my friends. I don't really care about becoming your friend, not in like a mean way, but just kind of like if
it's
I did
hard enough
if I did that
everything.
for everybody, it would be too much. And then I forgot that traveling into the city is kind of a grind. So like all the friends that I did meet that commuted into work, we wouldn't really hang out on the weekends because I get it. Like, you don't want to come in to take a 45-minute train when you don't have to. And then I had some friends from California that I reconnected with, but it was a small group. So if they were busy, I was like, what do I do with myself? And me and my roommate became good friends, but she had a lot going on too. She's from the East Coast too, and then was busy with work and trying to do everything with her friends too. So it was just kind of like I wanted a stronger support system. And then it was the first time I was truly like on my own, no outside support from my family as far financially. Like, obviously I could call my mom and talk to her, but I don't know. It's one of those things. I think had I done little things differently, I might have enjoyed my experience more. I think like moving to more of a different borough where it felt more neighborhoodly, I would have enjoyed. If I would have gotten a different job and moved on and grown my career, maybe I would have liked it. But I think New York is just most enjoyable when you're rich. So I'll only move back if I can have an apartment on the park and be neighbors with fancy people.
I'll counter that with you're either rich or you're dumb enough to not realize how bad it is for you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I want to ask personality-wise, because it's now like the second, maybe even more times that in the course of our conversation you've said, if I had done this differently or if I had done that differently. Is that your personality type? Do you think about if I had done something different, where might my life be?
Kind of. I feel like I have like a multiverse brain where I could have gone 5 different directions and been happy wherever those were.
Yeah.
But I try not to think about it too much, but I do think, like, have I given certain things more chances?
Yeah.
Maybe it would have worked how I envisioned it, but I'm also like, meh, we're moving on.
Yeah. So did you go check out any comedy when you were in New York?
I'm trying to think if while I was there, I came back and visited and went to the Cellar, and I lived like down the street from Dangerfields. But I don't local comedy more, yes. But again, a lot of those things, like, you gotta pay $40, and I was like, I have $5
just to walk in the door.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
okay, very different from what we have here.
But I played kickball, and one of the guys that I played kickball with was an aspiring comedian. So then that kind of like perked my interest, and I was like, oh, okay, there is people out here doing comedy and making a name for. I mean, he was making moves, not very well known, but I was impressed with his routine.
But at this point for you weren't thinking about it yet.
No. SNL, I went to a few tapings of that.
Oh, cool.
So that was my kind of, oh, wouldn't that be the dream if I got on SNL? But I don't know. Regular comedy didn't pop into my brain at that point.
Okay. So the move to Austin happened which year?
2014.
Okay, so you've been in Austin for a while. Okay.
I'm almost an OG for the Austin comedians, that is.
Yeah.
Not doing comedy that long, but when people are like, I've been here 3 weeks, I'm like, welcome.
So you're living your life here in Austin. You're loving the affordability, the getting around easily, making new friends.
Yeah.
And what kind of work are you doing?
I'm working at Retail Me Not, which is an online coupon company, and I'm still currently there. So been there the whole time pretty much.
Look at you.
Yeah, moved around. But yeah, it's been a really fun company. They've had a big startup vibe when I first started. We've been bought and it's changed a little bit, but it's been a good growth part of my career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when did you start thinking, I'm going to try my hand at stand-up?
Yeah. I turned 30, or I was about to turn 30, and was like, this is something I've enjoyed, and I think it'd be fun to try. And so for my birthday, like a month out, I bought myself a stand-up comedy course.
Ooh.
With Valerie Lopez.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, we'll see. We'll just give it a try. I think moving to Austin and meeting new people definitely, like, I had very funny friends all growing up, and we would joke around, but I never felt like I was the funniest person. We would all kind of feed off each other. And so then getting to Austin, I would just goof around with people, and they're like, you're really funny. Have you ever thought about comedy? And I just kind of sloughed it off. But in the back of my head, I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. So yeah, then I was like, now or never. Like, I'm not getting any younger, so might as well give it a go.
Yeah.
And I was too scared to go just to an open mic and be like, here's all the thoughts I've ever had. What do you guys think? They definitely needed some tailoring. So the class helped me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I've met Valerie, and I didn't realize until a few years ago that there are two Valeries in the comedy universe. So that was kind of funny. And I am now so loving that you are my guest for my birthday weekend episode, because for your birthday you went to stand-up class with Valerie.
Exactly.
And now you're on a podcast for my birthday with a Valerie.
That was my plan the whole time.
I know. Good job. Good job. No alternate universe scenario on that one.
Exactly.
So I assume, because I've heard others talk about when they go through a stand-up class, their final project is to perform stand-up either in front of the class or at an actual showcase. So what was yours?
We had a showcase, and it went really well. So then I was like, okay, I didn't die.
Uh-huh.
People laughed and liked my jokes. I think you get 5 minutes out of it, which, like, as a starting out is a decent amount of time. So I was like, yeah, let's just keep rolling. Mm-hmm. So then started the open mic scene, and was going probably like once to twice a week. Wasn't really like going too crazy, and then started meeting more people and then getting more involved in it. So, and then of course, the tried and true story of like, I started getting shows and everything was building and rolling. I had 1 year under my belt, and pandemic shut everything down, and I was like, no, nobody will ever know me ever again.
I hadn't met you before the online shows.
Yeah.
And so I think Colton knew you and initially booked you, and it's still like cemented in my memory. You had the little child's the
fortune teller.
Yes.
I still do that bit sometimes. It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Is that typical of your comedy? Like, you try to do something not with props, but just a little bit different than what people would expect?
I try to. I do try to like surprise and think of a different angle than maybe the one you would initially think of. Martha Kelly is a big inspiration of mine, and she's so good at that. And I'm like, oh, if only I could do it as well as she can. But yeah, something I want to get more like physical. I mean, that is physical in that, but I think that's something I would want to explore a little more. I just get nervous, of course, with being so, I don't know why, but like it feels like another layer that the audience can see your true self when you're like acting out bits or being physical in my head.
Yeah. Okay, so you brought up Martha Kelly, and we were talking about something before I hit record. So now I think is a perfect time to bring this topic up. Your voice.
Yes.
You seem a little self-conscious about it when we were talking about the mic placement, and your voice is very soft, a little squeaky.
Yes.
And Martha Kelly's voice is so unique. Like, if you have watched her do stand-up, it's almost like she's afraid to talk into the microphone.
Yeah.
It's just a very timid. It's not a Maria Bamford situation where Maria is like very squeaky, loud. Martha Kelly's voice is just very. I'm afraid to talk, and yet in the way that she talks is hilarious.
Right.
So it's almost like the voice is one of those steps in being big on stage and incorporating more action on stage. So all of that preface to say, one of the things that I don't know if I force it, but I almost always end up saying or hitting on is you have to be comfortable with who you are, and then things start popping in your comedy career.
Yeah.
And if you are comfortable with who Katie Felton is, then you're gonna play into your voice, play into being big on stage. And do you ever think about that as kind of the progression of your performance?
Yes, and also I'm sad I've been wasting so much money in therapy. I could have just come here for all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. My whole thing is like my jokes are pretty much 100% true. Obviously, the punchline but everything is based off something that I've experienced. Maybe I flourish a little bit, but it's come from like a real part of myself.
Yeah.
And so I think because I'm giving so much information to the audience, some of the other parts kind of I'm timid and pull back from a little bit. But I do think you're right as far as once I let that all go and just really go for it, then I'll unlock another level to my comedy. But I'm just at this point, it's hard because I'm trying to write new jokes that are funny, that I like, that go with the bits that work already. Then I'm trying to change up how I'm telling them, because I was telling you before, I started comedy doing very monotone, just kind of straightforward. I don't really laugh at myself on stage. A voice, so that way I was afraid I would get too nervous and excited and my voice would go up an octave. So I was like, if I just am monotone type of, then the nerves I can kind of cut out a little bit. But now I'm really trying to get more loose on stage and kind of sell it, act it more. Because if you sell it to the audience, they'll buy in more than.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on now. It's hit or miss as far as you just kind of get in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But yes, I think you are correct. The more I am this is all of me, take it or leave it, the more they'll be into it. But it is it's like an onion. You definitely have to peel away the layers and start saying ID gaff.
I've never heard that as an out loud word. That's awesome. And when you're in those first few years of comedy, you experiment with different approaches, and who knows, you may find yourself, I kind of like that monotone approach. That actually feels comfortable.
Yeah.
And now that I've tried the wild and out voice, I'm good with the monotone. I feel like it hits the way I like.
Right.
And control too, if that's your thing.
Yeah. I think being in control is is a comfort, so.
I was raised an only child, so I think there's a lot of that to it too that I relate to.
Okay.
Is, I like to control my environment a lot. And I think as only children, I don't know, I think that's something that we we grow up with.
Definitely. And people cater to us.
Yes.
So they're like, how can we help you control? And, well, now that you ask. And in the real world, people are just doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Why don't you care about me?
Okay, we're kind of at the halfway point. There's a whole bunch more that I want to talk about, but I want to do our little intermission with the Where Should We Begin
Yes,
cards.
let's do it.
So you're going to pick a card, and I'm going to read it to you, and you're going to answer the question.
Okay, I'm going to do this one.
Okay. Oh, goodness, there's deep thoughts here. A relationship I need to let go of.
Again, where were you last week?
I'm so cheap, too, so.
Okay, I'm gonna get really deep here, but I think letting go of just like old thoughts of myself, like where I thought I would be at this point in my life, like envisioning that Katie, and I just need to let go of what that was and just live in the present and know that it'll all work out how I want it or how it's meant to work out. But also, like, you know, I have control over it. But like back in my early years, I thought I would like be married, maybe start to have children, be making so much money at my job at this point in my life. And, you know, I'm a single lady. I have a good life, but I would still like to be making more money and that kind of stuff. So I just need to break the relationship with the judgy Katie of myself. And so that's what I want to get rid of or stop that relationship. But, yeah. Also learning relationships are ever changing. I think I have a hard part being like, no, our relationship started off as this, so let's just keep that going. But that's not realistic.
Not in this day and age, I don't think. I think people just, I mean, and I remember from my time in my 20s and 30s, I'd have like really, really deep friendships with people. And now it's like, those people are gone from my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, they served a purpose at that time.
Yeah.
As really good friends, but now, okay, I have a different life.
Exactly.
And you kind of have to roll with the punches at some point.
Yeah, for sure. I had a kind of sad thought the other day because I was like, I pretty much only listen to the music I listened to like in high school and college anymore. And I'm like, I'm becoming like a dad. Because, like, you know, dads just listen to their heyday music.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's because they're not really making friends as much anymore in their old age. So they're not getting new music from outside influences. And I'm like, I have dad music now. But I think it is like a metaphor for life as you change.
Yeah.
Okay, your question is a dream I've lost hope for.
Oh gosh.
These are sad today.
They are. It's birthday episode. These are supposed to be happy and fun.
Okay, how about a dream you've lost hope for, but a dream you have for the future too? So we'll end on a high.
Oh, okay. A dream I've lost hope for? Oh gosh. That's really hard to answer because I feel so grateful for like where I'm at in my job and with my family situation. It's not traditional by any stretch. I live with my mom. I live with my teenage son who's, you know, soon going to be off to college.
Yeah.
I've got a boyfriend in California. It's just a weird life, and I'm okay. I think I've just embraced that. So, interestingly, when I grew up, I did not have that traditional, future. I'm going to be married. I'm going to have kids. I'm like, I never wanted kids. Sorry, son. But I rolled with the punches, and it's like, I met his dad. We fell in love, got married. Had the kid, divorced. So, I feel like, all right, well, I've gone through I've gone through the paces now. So have I had dreams of being like disgustingly rich? Yes, by all means. I watched Cribs. I still watch $1 Million Listing.
Yeah.
I watch all these fancy house shows, Bling Empire. I watch it all, and I'm like, man, that would be really cool. But then all the drama that these people go through, I'm like, all right, that part just doesn't change.
Right.
So I think probably the dream I've lost hope for is being like disgustingly rich. The dream I can hope for, it's so funny because I've got a great career, but this hobby of mine that I started 6 years ago with Comedy Wham is like every year I feel like it takes on a life of its own, and I think about, man, what if I retired from my real job and threw all my eggs into growing Comedy Wham?
Yeah.
But I don't know what that would look like because I've never thought about what is Comedy Wham going to look like in a year or 2 years. I just hope it's cool and different because every year it's been cool and different.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited that this year the Austin Chronicle asked me to write like a handful of articles. And it's like, I used to read the Austin Chronicle when I was a student at UT.
Yeah.
And now I'm in it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think about, wow, maybe I have a future as a writer. Maybe that would be a really cool thing to do. And, and I do still, I stopped. I had been doing comedy. I decided to do comedy about 3 years before the pandemic hit. And because of logistics with parenting when the pandemic hit, I just couldn't get out anymore.
Right.
You know, even when things started reopening. And life became way too difficult for me to be able to stay up at night. Because my son would have swim practice at 6 a.m. and it's like, I can't be up at 1 o'clock because I know that those open mics, they're going to see, oh, you're a newbie, we're putting you on last. I can't stay up till 1:30.
No.
So I do have hopes that I can get back to performing comedy because I did enjoy that part of my life because I had fun those few years that I was doing it.
Exactly.
So 2-part dream, I guess.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Also, I'll teach you how to bump yourself on some of my class.
Well, and that was funny because as, a lot of people that I would go to their mics, they, not to be on an ego trip, but people generally know who I am.
That's awesome. Yes.
And while that's
no
great,
ego trips.
I also know my place in the comedy universe, and I never wanted to be that person that said, I'm Comedy Wham. I need to go up first. I'm just like, I want to go through this experience the way everybody else has had to go through this experience.
I appreciate your humbleness. I think that's the way to do it. But also sometimes I would be like, I am Comedy Wham and I have places to go. So
yeah. Maybe on my second tour when I get back to it. When my son is off to college or when my son gets his driver's license, I keep telling myself, I'm going to go back to do it.
He's a traditional Gen Zer where he likes to be driven.
Yes. Oh, my God.
I think that's so interesting. Because, as a millennial, I was like, I cannot get my driver's license fast enough. I was driving all my friends around, even though you weren't supposed to do that. And so, I loved the independence. I had older friends in high school that then graduated, so I was driven for a while, but then once they were out, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, and parenting has changed so much because now my son is off to a swim meet in Houston, but there's an app where I could see exactly where he's at, and I can watch him moving from, the swimming pool to the hotel to on the way home, and it's like, certainly when I was growing up, I don't know about when you were growing up, but you could track, so I knew, and that, it's a little disturbing, it's a little big brothery disturbing, but also it gives me peace of mind that once he is driving, while I'm waiting to be 45th on a 50 slot open mic night
Yes.
that I can see, oh yeah, he's still at home. He hasn't
Yeah.
climbed out the back window
I know.
to go.
I do think, I don't interact with a ton of young people, so I don't know how they feel about it. But I grew up where there was like no technology, and then it progressed so fast.
Yeah.
Where, we got internet, and then all of a sudden you had MySpace and AIM, and you could talk to strangers. And my parents, again, I was a good kid, so I wasn't doing anything too crazy, but they were like, oh, you're talking to your friends? Cool. They weren't asking questions of are you in chat rooms talking to strange men? Are you telling them where you live, your age? No, nothing too much. But it's nice I think as a parent, it's nice to have that peace of mind, but I don't know if kids get more creative with how they get away with things, or they're just upfront now and I'm going to drink alcohol at this person's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, I would have known anyway, so glad you told me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think the transparent approach is definitely the one that I've adopted with my son. I can ask him to tell me stuff, and I have good faith that he's telling me the truth. Plus, he's just too stinking busy to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Which that's a definite parenting trick, is keep them so busy they do not have time, or they're too exhausted to get into trouble.
That was my parents' strategy.
Yeah.
It worked.
All right. Let's get back to some of the stuff that I want to find out about. And that is that you were performing comedy for about 3 years?
Yeah.
Then, before the pandemic?
No, a year.
A year. Okay.
It's been 3.5, almost 4 years total. My 4-year anniversary is in April.
Okay. And then you did the pandemic. You were one of those comics that was open to doing online shows, and I love that you did ours.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Yeah. And then things started opening up. So you're very similar to Holly Hart, who I had on a few months ago, because I think she felt like she was just hitting her stride, and things were about to start opening up as far as getting booked on more and more showcases, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And she also did our online shows and was, very fun and creative with them. And then, you both come back to this new landscape.
Yeah. It was fun in that it was different. As far as I kind of expected it to be the same, but then Rogan's moving here and talking about how awesome Austin is. So then you have all these new people moving. That happened right as things were opening up, and it was crazy to see the scene change in front of my eyes, because I had seen what the old scene was like, and then to see this whole blossoming and chatter about Austin comedy and all that kind of stuff I really enjoyed it, because I love all the older Austin people that started before, but it did feel slightly cliquish, which I understand, but I think having this new wave of comedians constantly coming has definitely made a more open kind of exchange of ideas, and it doesn't feel like you're either part of one group or another group, and that's kind of who you stick with and what shows you get on. It's more diverse and more opportunities.
Yeah. This is solely based on watching your social media posts, but you seemed like you got in with the Vulcan gas crowd, the Creek in the Cave crowd, and you seemed pretty comfortable, or you were getting booked on a lot of those shows, which some people are like, I don't know, I kind of like the old scene.
Yeah.
You seem to integrate yourself into the new look of the Austin comedy scene.
Yeah. I don't think I ever I was working my way into something before, so I was definitely kind of one of almost like starting fresh as like somebody that moved here. So,
Yeah.
and it's interesting. I feel like some people I feel like really have a home club, and I still don't think I really have a home club. Like I'm like whoever wants to book me or put me on a show, I have no allegiance
Yeah.
anywhere. But I think you also need that in a scene in general, is like, some swing comedians or whatever.
Yeah.
That, your audience isn't oversaturated by seeing them regularly and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. And now I get to see you at the front of Cap City, which is hands down to me one of the smartest moves that you can make in a comedy career.
Thank you.
Is working at a club, because once all the tickets are collected and you can just sneak in and
Yeah.
watch amazing comics
Yes.
come through.
That has been the funnest part. I think originally I went in being like, I'll get to know the people and then they'll book me. And that has happened some, but I think the part that I thought would be like a fun extra bonus has been better, which is, getting to see, true professionals work on their craft and seeing people that you've loved just starting out with a new material and kind of seeing that process, or people you've never heard of. And you're like, okay, they are very polished. I am becoming a fan, or people you wouldn't normally think you would kind of see what their whole thing is about. So it's been a good master class almost.
Yeah.
Especially when I can get to watch. I feel like I probably don't take advantage as much as I should, but it is very nice too.
Yeah. Who have you been most surprised at that you've seen? And why? I mean, if you can't even remember the name, that's fine. But like, what was it about somebody that you saw that you're like, oh wow, that's really an interesting approach to comedy?
Yeah.
Or
I think the one I was most surprised with was Randy Feltface. If you're not familiar, he's like a purple puppet, and I thought it would be really hokey, or maybe like a Triumph, the insult comic dog, where like he was using the puppet to get away with things that maybe he couldn't.
yeah,
But it was just very smart, funny comedy where I was like, okay, a human could do this. But I think the mannerisms and like being over the top work better on a puppet. But yeah, his whole setup was really cool. Like he comes with his own little desk, and it's great. It was really cool. I was not expecting what happened.
Yeah.
And then Craig Robinson surprised me because he was way more musical than I expected. Like, he probably knows, like, I don't know, 500 songs or something. Like, I truly don't think he has a set list of what he's going to play. He just kind of goes off the dome, and, he was getting a little bit intoxicated. So the fact that he could remember all the notes and songs while in that state, I was like, okay, like, this is impressive. So, yeah, it's just been interesting.
Can I just tell you how much I love that those are the two that you picked? A, because how far of a stretch is it to go from puppet to the fortune teller? And the musicality of Craig Robinson with Lipstick Battle.
Yeah, true. I didn't think about that.
Connections. That's the name of my game, is making these weird
I
connections.
love it. I wish if there was a ooh, ah button on here.
We can just invent one. Ooh, ah. So at what point did this idea for your show actually start to take shape?
Ooh, probably, so it's almost been a year. We started in January, and I probably had the idea like 6 months out, where I just hadn't really seen. I'm in full transparency. I got inspired by the goddamn Comedy Jam.
Yes.
Been to Moon Tower a bunch, and that was always my favorite event. And would go like every night to see all the new different comics, and saw how much the crowd enjoyed it and got involved. And again, like kind of showcased the different parts of the comedian that you don't see all the time. So I was like, I want to do something similar. I am not a singer at all, so I was like, I don't think singing will be it. But there wasn't really any. I mean, I feel like there's Fallout shows which are a little bit off, not just stand up and kind of different experiences, but most of the other comedy shows are straight comedy. So I decided lip syncing would be my talent of the thing. And because I love, Jimmy Fallon doing his lip syncs, and then they had that whole show with Christy Teigen as the little host lady. It was so fun. But yeah, and I'm a huge Halloween dresser-upper. I love to think of like a really weird costume idea, so I was like, okay, I can incorporate costume, because in the lip sync battle show they dress up and everything and really go all out, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So yeah, it was about 6 months of trying to shop it around, and then Martin Henn and Andre Ricks had a show at Last Stand, and I was talking to them about getting shows started and how they do it. And Martin was like, oh yeah, Last Stand wants to add another show. Our comedy has been doing well, so they want to try something on Fridays. And since your show is a different concept, I'm sure they'd be into it. So thank you, Martin, for the tip.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the performers, because I'm so sorry, Katie, I've not been to
Okay.
swim practice even on Saturdays is at 6 a.m.
Yes.
So or there's a swim meet, or it's just, I'm sorry. Performers do their stand-up, and then there's a competition element, and then you do the lipstick battle against you.
Yes, correct. Okay. So I usually book 5 to 7 comedians. They each do 10 minutes of comedy. Then at the end, I bring them all up on stage, and the audience votes on who they thought had the best set of the night, and they want to see battle me in a lip sync battle. So then I start, and it's instead of like RuPaul's Drag Race where they do the same song, it's pick your own song, and I start and do something funky and weird, and then they get to do their song after, and the people who prepare do amazing. It's always so much better than mine, and I'm like, oh, this is my show. But and then it's funny because I don't know, people or are too busy or don't expect to win, and then they're like, so that's fun too. But it's been really fun. It's been a great way to see different talents and things, and it's just, I have so much joy from it, and I think the audience really likes it too, and because it's not expected. Yeah.
Well, a Friday night show is like a big deal at a venue. I mean, that's usually a date night for people, and week's over, let's go have some fun, and my God, it's a great sounding show.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I love that you're inspired by goddamn Comedy Jam, because to me that is like the cream of the crop when it comes to a musical comedy show.
Yes.
And it's the lore of that show. It's so funny. They tried to make it a TV show, and it just does not work. You have to be in that audience to feel, to feel Josh yelling at you to participate and move to the front and do the crowd surfing. And, it's such a high energy experience. Full transparency on my end. I have seen so many goddamn comedy jams now because I started watching it in, I think, maybe 5 years ago at Moon Tower. And same deal. I'd go every single night. But it's always the last show of the night. And I have reached that age where I also see some of the repeat people. And I'm like, I know what song they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I'm only going to go to one per Moon Tower now because I can't do it anymore.
I know. That is the bummer.
Yeah.
It's always at the end of the night, and you're like, okay, this is fun, but let's wrap it up.
Yeah. Exactly. Please don't start late. I can't. There was some other thing that I wanted to talk to you about that was related to the show. Okay, so who has beat you in the lip sync battle?
So we don't officially do a count after because I don't think my ego could handle that. But I know people that for sure have beaten me. Rochelle has beaten me. She did a very amazing somebody that I used to know.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was out of town and we had a all winners, all lip sync, and she was the host because I was like, obviously, you are the master of this. Mary Catherine Bryant did a wonderful Michael Jackson, the Free Willy song. She knew all the words.
Oh my gosh.
Carter Anderson did a great lip sync. Jordan McDonald, he can show emotion. He did I'm Gonna Love You, right? From Dreamgirls. And you, and you, and you. You're gonna love me. So good. I'm trying to think of other people. Xavier, sorry, I can't remember his last name. He's an LA comic, but he was in musical theater and did Newsies.
Oh my gosh.
Stood on like benches and it was great.
Huh.
So there's been some that have blown my socks off.
And you're about to celebrate 1 year
Yes.
with the show. Are you going to do a all-out, get-out anniversary show?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. So I'm trying to look for a co-host right now, and I have some feelers out on that. So that's my number one for the new year.
Yeah.
Let's make it a little easier on me. But I don't know. We should. I want to do, so we did a winner's, I call it Winner's Circle. I think, well, so it first started out as just once a month. So I wasn't doing as many shows, and then we moved to twice a month. So probably like 10 shows in or something, we did a Winner's Circle of all the winners that I could round up from previous shows. And it seemed to go well. So we might just do like another Winner's Circle in the beginning of the year. But maybe we can also make that a big anniversary something. Or I might just like bring candy and pass it out to the audience and be like, you guys look at what you get because you were here when we did a 1 year show.
So why are you looking for a co-host? Is it just it's too much, or you have some other things in mind that you want to take on?
Yeah, I think it would just be fun to get a different perspective. Like, I've been able to do my vision, but I think getting somebody else in there to see what they can bring to the table would be a lot of fun. I think just having the flexibility to possibly do other shows is nice for both of us.
Yeah.
And then just a different chance to get somebody that has maybe different connections of comedians and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and then there's like things I specialize in and things I am not very good at. So I'm hoping, you know, they'll have the strengths for things that I don't really like or care about that much. Like marketing and social media. Even though I started my career in marketing, I'm like, meh. But some people are so good at it, and I think it helps a lot. So I'm like, if I can get somebody that is their strength, or they enjoy doing that, I'm super down for that.
Yeah. I've been doing this thing now on our Instagram page where if I see that there's a show that's on our events page for that day, if somebody hasn't already tagged me, I'll just go find, like in your case, I'll go find your account and I'll see if I can see a post. And so for the last lipstick battle, I wanted to, promote it. And I'm like, she hasn't posted about the night show.
I do lots of stories, but now that I know that, I will post more. A trick.
Yeah, I mean, you've already got the flyer.
Yeah.
So this is a tip for anyone. If you've already got the flyer, just do a quick even a lazy post.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. And I think I remember what the other thing was. One of the reasons that I talked in the introduction about following you on Instagram is exactly for this year's Halloween contest. That was so creepy good.
Thank you.
And I don't know that I want to spoil it. I think I want to just make sure people go to your Instagram account and find that costume. Oh my God. I can't imagine. I mean, it's simple, and yet it feels like it would be challenging to find just the right costume elements to make that happen.
Yeah. I thought it would suck me in a little more. Not at all. So there was some Spanx under there, and I thought I would feel covered because I was fully covered. Did not feel that way at all. Felt very exposed. But it was fun. It was worth it for the giggles.
Yeah. One of the things that I have seen people do when they have a unique show idea is shop it around at festivals. That's kind of how the goddamn Comedy Jam got to where it is it shopped their concept, and now they get picked up at so many festivals.
Yeah.
Do you foresee something like that since yours is so unique?
I would love that. Yeah, that's something I want to get more involved in festivals myself, but definitely, get the show involved in stuff like that. Because I do think it'd be fun, especially if people know in advance and can really, prepare for it. And, it's fun.
Yeah. So highly recommend that the double threat of, okay, Katie's submitting for herself for her stand-up, and then also, hey, I've got the show idea. I'm submitting for the show. And
yeah, I would love that. Even Last Stand has been great, but I'm even open to moving the show to different venues and that kind of thing. So we'll see. I hope it expands and becomes a more well-known show.
Yeah. I commit. I will come to.
Yes. The good news is it does end at 10 o'clock. So the venue closes at 10. We have to be out by
okay.
then.
All right.
So,
well, that helps.
Yes.
That helps to know that. Okay. Let's see. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Any other therapy you want to get? Any
No.
show ambitions, comedy ambitions, your dreams, your hopes?
Ooh. I mean, I would love to be booked more. So if you think I'm funny, please reach out to me. No.
Do you do TikTok?
Yes and no. I just do the trendy TikTok dances, or if I think of weird video concepts, but not skits or anything like that.
Were you doing TikTok a lot more at a point in the past?
I was. My following is not very big, so, and I don't think that's not my skill set, but I would love it to be, maybe. But again, I just like the dances, so I don't. There's so much goes into filming, editing a clip for the maximum of 3 minutes that I'm like, I give all the TikTok people so much props.
Yeah.
That is just, I don't have the time right now, but I do think it's a very cool avenue to get a following, and it's a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
So, I do want to start a TikTok podcast. I think that would be fun. It'd be like a 3-minute podcast.
Well, what would you do?
Interview local comedians for 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Getting in on my game.
Exactly.
All right. Well, and this ends.
My other thought was to do that, but then teach them a TikTok dance at the end. But I don't think we could do that in 3 minutes. But that's maybe just a different. I mean, everybody's in the podcast game, though, too. So then I'm like, do I want to do that? I don't know. So many ideas swirling.
Yeah.
But, I meet more famous comedians. I think I need to take advantage of my Cap City and actually, like, say hello instead of being scared of famous comedians. But
famous comedians started just like you. Remember that.
yeah, that's the part I forget about.
Yeah. Also, they're not going to remember you unless you do something atrocious.
Right.
And you're probably not going to do anything atrocious.
That's true. You're right. I know. I think working through my fears this next year and actually pulling the trigger on things is what I want to work on for year 4 in the comedy scene. But I don't know. Not really anything crazy. For Austin comedy, I hope we start getting more like feature acts here instead of, people were moving to LA or New York, and I still think that's a little bit more of what's happening, but I think we're getting to a point where we have good feature talent, so just getting their names out in the zeitgeist more, and having more people level up like a corporate ladder. What's my hope for Austin comedy. So it's coming, it's going, it's working already. But
let go of those fears.
I know. And then the ultimate dream is full comedy pays for my lifestyle, but we have some time to go before we get there. But I hope you, Comedy Wham, if you ever explore retiring from your job, I'm here to support, because you've been such a support to Austin comedy. So let me know if you need anything from me. I have an extra bedroom, so if you need to crash.
When Moon Tower comes around, I may be hitting you up, because this commute is killer.
Yeah.
When you've gone to the last goddamn comedy jam of the night, and you have to be back because you scheduled 5 interviews in the daytime. And it's an exhausting festival. But I think this year, I don't know if you've seen their announcements, I think this year is going to be more manageable than what they did earlier this year. Or I guess 2023's schedule is going to be more manageable than what they tried to pull off in 2022.
Yes. I felt there were so many things I wanted to see in the same time slot. But, I mean, that's every festival.
Yeah, there's always FOMO. But at least this way it's not 2 weekends of club shows. If you're interested in Moon Tower, so what they're doing this year is just one dedicated weekend to all of the club shows, but for the whole 2+ week period, it's going to be all like headliner shows. So if you're not into, booking all those Paramount tickets, then you can still just focus on the one weekend of club shows.
Yeah, I might do that. I don't know. I haven't decided. I do love all the club shows, because then you get to see the headliners too.
Drop in, exactly. And that's, I don't know, I think that's much more magical to see them drop into a small venue and, do what they do or just play.
Yeah.
And I think that's so much more fun than
Yeah.
whatever you get to see from hundreds of feet away.
Exactly. Yeah. And this was the first year where, like, I had friends that were on, so I was like, oh, this is fun. Because it's always been, like, learning about people or, like, people you already know and follow. And so just having, friends was, like, a new fun element where you're like, Hercules, go. You can do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Katie, I think that's just about it. But I have my closing question.
Okay.
It's one word to describe your future.
Ooh. Limitless.
Nice.
I'm manifesting that.
I believe it will happen.
Woohoo!
Yay! Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents Katie Felton. Katie, tell us where we can find you on social media and projects that you want to promote.
Yes, you can find me on social media at K, the number 8, E Felts. That's my personal Instagram. You can follow Shtick Battle at Shtick Battle on Instagram, and that's SHTICK, Shtick. Where else? You can come to Lipstick Battle. It's the 2nd and 4th Friday of the month at Last Stand Brewing. And that's pretty much it. I don't have a website or anything right now. So, and then my TikTok is the same as my Instagram. So if you want to see me try to do weird dances on TikTok, go over there. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
And come out to the open mics. You'll see me around.
Very good. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Katie got to be the comedic genius that you heard today just as much as I have. This has been Comedy Wham Presents Katie Felton. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.